My name is Ramon Sosa, and I had to fake my death so that my wife could get arrested.
When I met my now ex-wife Lulu, a friend of mine recommended this place. I noticed her with another guy dancing on the dance floor. The next thing I know, she walks in front of me. She had high heels and she stepped to my toe. Oh my goodness, that's that pain I never forget. And she kept telling me, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I said, no, don't worry about it. The only words that came out of my mouth were, would you like to dance? And we danced the night away. And that's where it all started. She was a mother to recently divorced, and she came from a very, very difficult marriage. Her husband was very abusive to her and her kids. She moved to the States looking for a better life for her and her kids. At the beginning of the relationship was great. You know, we dated for about a year and a half. I had the opportunity to meet her family. And one thing that has always stuck in my head was the day that we got married. Her mother walked up to me and whispers in my ear, now she's your trouble, and then walks away. And I just thought about that. I was happy. So I was like, okay, what does that mean? I didn't, think nothing of it. But I guess from that one day, she was just trying to tell me something. I started seeing cracks in our marriage. We started having arguments about the kids, especially her son at the time was going through some issues in school and at home, and of course being the man of the house. And I said, look, there's only one man in this house, and that's me. And as long as I put a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and food in your stomach, I'm the man in this house. Another thing that happened was that we opened up a business together, gym. We worked together. She worked more of the clerical stuff and took care of all the business part of the gym. And I was more of the trainer and all that, After a while, we were doing very, very, very well financially with the gym. But I started noticing that the money wasn't adding up financially. I would look at how many people were, members of our gym. And then when I looked at the bottom line on the books, that wasn't adding up. And every time I asked her, she would always come back with, don't worry about it. Everything's getting paid. You're getting paid. Everything, all the bills are getting paid. Don't worry about it. We're doing well. But I just kept having suspicious feelings about all that, those cracks started getting bigger and bigger, and things were getting worse and worse. It just got to the point where we were just going in different ways. We were having issues at the gym. And then that's when she started spreading false rumors around about me. Work with kids at the gym. And she started spreading rumors to the parents of these kids that I was a drunk, that I was abusive to her and her kids, that I wasn't the person that they thought that I was. And then she started spreading false rumors to her friends, telling them the same thing, that I was abusive, that I was a drunk. I mean, it got to the point where people were just kind of like, man, I can't believe you doing that kind of stuff to her, And I had no idea what was going on. We tried counseling, we tried everything. She hit me with the divorce papers, and I was okay. It just got to the point where, okay, we're not going to make it. We're just going to go get divorced. But one thing that she did do, and I was very, very upset. I remember one time I was sitting in my living room, and out of nowhere, I mean, I didn't see it coming. She comes and she just hit me with oh my God. I mean, it's like one of those boxing, fights you see slow motion, you see. I mean, she busted my lip. And the first thought that went through my head was my mother, because, she would say, do not hit a lady. And what the first thing she did was she dropped on the ground into the fetal position and started crying, saying, please don't hit me. Please don't hit me. Please don't call the police. They're going to send me back to Mexico. And blood was just dripping down the side of my mouth. And all I could do was just go to the bathroom and I just kept staring at myself in the mirror thinking, like, what am I doing with this lady? She knew what buttons to push to get me to retaliate. And I did retaliate one time, but I remember punch the door. And what she do, she calls the police and tells the police that I'm aggressive, that I need to be taken out of the house. And that's what she wanted to do, is trying to get me out of the house. And she did eventually. She was able to get me out of the house. The most embarrassing thing that I've ever had done to me in my life was have an officer follow me in my own home so I can pack a little bag to kick me out of my own house. And they're upstairs looking at me, laughing while I'm being escorted out of my own house by police. I will never forget that. So what happens is, since I'm not going to the gym, the memberships at the gym dropped tremendously. And I told her that's what's going to happen. And she wanted to believe it. She thought she was going to be having somebody else come in and take my spot, and everything was going to be okay. But that didn't happen. The divorce was not going her way, and the divorce was going to be finalized soon. And that's when she made the decision. I think, you know what? I need to do something to take this man out so I can get the money and live happily ever after. The way I found out that my ex-wife Lulu wanted to kill me was through a mutual friend, Mundo. This guy, he told me his story. He was an ex-gang member, been in prison. He had been shot, stabbed. He had a lot of issues growing up, but he wanted to change his life. So I felt for the young man, and he became really, really close to me and my kids. He told me his story. So what I did was mentor him and got him straight. We became really good friends. And 15 years later, when I moved to the other side of town, he became part of the gym. While we were going through our divorce, he knew that we were going through a very difficult divorce. And this particular evening, I had left the gym early, and he stayed behind, and Lulu was still there. And he just happened to walk by my office in the gym, and he overheard Lulu talking to her daughter, about of all people. And her daughter was telling her that there's a young man in the gym that has an uncle or family member in Mexico that kills people or chops up people for money. And Lulu responds by saying, maybe we can use him. And Mundo, when he overhears this, he goes, he's like, whoa, whoa. He just walked up to them and said, look, you guys need to be careful, what you say, because you never know who's listening. And later on that evening, he walked up to Lulu when she was by herself, in the gym. He knew there was something going on between me and her, so he kind of asked her, look, is this about Ramon? And she said, yeah. She was upset. She said, I wish they would just take him away. And he goes, to go away like this. He did the pistol sign. And she said, yeah, take him away like that. Let me tell you that the reason that I'm still here alive is because the decision that the young man took at that point, and what he told Lulu, he told her, I have the people that can do the job. And Lulu fell for it. She said, well, okay, well, let's talk. And she was all ears. And that's when he told her, we can talk tomorrow. So what does Mundo do? He calls me the next day, and I remember I was driving next morning. Hey, Pops, this lady wants to kill you. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, Lulu, the wife. And I'm like, what? And I thought, I said, look, man, if we're joking around, this is not funny at all, man. If we're joking around with that kind of stuff. He goes, no. He said, I've seen that look on people's eyes when they want to kill somebody. And she has that look, and she means business. And man, let me tell you what, I just pulled over. I had so much anger, rage. I mean, I didn't know what to do. I was so upset. It was horrible. But at the time, we were still living together. And I had to drive back to my house knowing that this person that's still living with me wanted to have me killed. Although she was living upstairs and I was living downstairs, I would sleep basically with one eye open in my own home. When I found out that she put a hit on me, I talked to my attorney, my divorce attorney, and told him what was going on. And when she was able to kick me out of the house, I called them and he said, "Don't worry about it. You know what she's up to. We're just gonna keep it like this, and we're gonna just take it to the authorities." For that, Mundo's idea was like he told me, let's see how far she's willing to go with this whole deal. I want to talk to her. I want to record all our conversations and see how far she's willing to go with this, because I think she's for real. And that's what he did. He had conversations with her, recorded all the conversations. And what's so crazy is that all the conversations he would have with her, he would record them on her phone and later on with a little recorder. And then we would meet later on, and he would let me listen to all the conversations, listening to the stuff that she was saying and how bad she wanted me dead. It was horrifying. I never forget this one recording where she's telling Mundo that how she was already practicing how to cry when the authorities, would contact her to let her know that I was dead. She was already practicing how to cry. And then she starts laughing and giggling. And that's how it was, for a while, until Mundo told her, we have the people, I have the guys that are going to do the job, but, they have to have something. They need to buy a gun. He called it a toy. They need to buy that toy. It's a dirty toy, and they need at least $200. And this is another thing. The whole time, that he's talking to Lulu, he's texting with the supposedly hitman. She had no idea the whole time that Mundo's texting back and forth with me, because I had one of those track phones that I had bought. And of course, she doesn't know the number. So I was playing my own hitman. When she gave Mundo the money, that's it. I said, well, you know what? We have enough information. I took the money, all the recordings that Mundo had with her, to the authorities. And that's when they jumped in, and they had to be in a hurry, because they knew that how quick she wanted me dead, because our divorce was coming up and she wanted me dead before our divorce was over, because if not, she knew that my kids would get everything. It all went down after the authorities got involved. They had a plan to bring in their own hitman, undercover hitman. And the undercover police officer, the guy looked really for real, man. He looked, like a real hitman. So what he did was he would meet with Lulu in an undercover police vehicle. And she had no idea the whole time that, of course, this guy's undercover. And they were going back and forth on how they're going to do the hit. And he told her one time that, look, this is going to cost, I think it was $14,000. and I need some money up front. The way it all went down is it was like they had enough information to arrest her after the hitman had met with her several times. The local authorities, they had a plan. They called me in to have a meeting with me, and they told me that the assistant DA said, "Look, man, we have enough information, we have enough evidence to arrest her, but we just don't want to take a chance on going to a jury trial and having one of the jurors feel sorry for her because she's a beautiful lady. She's never been arrested before. She's a mother of two. You guys have a business here in town. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a picture of you dead and show it to her and show the video or to her emotions to the jury, and that's going to be a slam dunk case." And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, "You're going to do what?" They brought out pictures of actual dead people with bullet wounds to the head. And they picked up one and they said, "Okay, this is the one we're going to do." They picked that one picture and they said, "Now I want you to go home and I want you to get clothes for 3 days because we're going to hide you for 3 days because we don't want nobody to know about you when we do this." The way they made the bullet wound, it was a couple of officers. And I thought these guys were professionals, but come to find out later on that these guys had watched a YouTube video on how to make bullet wounds, I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me." And they did. They made the bullet wound and they put the blood and everything. And then they took me to a location they already had they dug up a shallow grave and they put me in the grave and they told me how to pose. They even threw dirt on me, like I was, overweight, like blowed up, like I had been dead for a while, and took pictures. I mean, I remember closing my eyes and the sound of the 35 millimeter just clicking around me. Must have been 100 pictures he took. And I never forget that sound and in my head, going through my head thinking like, what am I doing this? What am I doing? I'm over here playing dead for this person to get arrested, but I had to do it. They took me away for 3 days. Nobody knew where I was at. The undercover officer met with Lulu and showed her the picture of me dead. And her reaction, she was like raising her heads up and asking, he even asked her, "He's dead, right?" And he responded, "No, he's not, he's done." At least he gave me a little bit of dignity. He said, "I put up a fight and I fought one of the guys, but they were able to take me down and kill me." And she was so happy. It looked like she had just hit the lotto. And she was like, "Oh, this is it right here." And she just paid her the rest of the money and walked out of the car. And then the next day, the cops show up on my gym doing a missing person report on me. Understand that the day before, she was all happy and they walked into my office and her mother and her daughter were there and they asked her about me. And then she said, "No, I haven't seen him." She made up this, she was worried about me. She said that she had called my sister, and she did. She had called some friends of mine. She had it all planned. She was asking like if they had seen me already, or anybody had found out anything about me, because she knew what was going on. And when the officer just let her go along with what she was saying, and finally they told her, "Look, you're under arrest for solicitation of capital murder." And they arrested her in front of her mother and her daughter and took her away in handcuffs out of the gym. That's how crazy it was. She was in the county prison or jail for about 15 months before her attorneys, they finally gave up and she pleaded down to a second-degree solicitation of capital murder. The evidence against her, she would have gone to trial for a first-degree solicitation of capital murder. She would have been locked up for life. I was living at home. I was able to get back into my house. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know some people would still, I didn't know if there was a plan B or C. I slept with a loaded shotgun next to me. I had a 9mm in the kitchen. I had another gun in my vehicle. I mean, I was always armed. The last hearing that she had when she was sentenced, the judge would let me speak to her. They gave me parameters of what I could not say. So I did, and I half forgave her. I forgave her because it's not that I forgave her because I felt sorry for her. I forgave her because of me, because I needed to let all that anger out, give everything and just move on with my life. The last thing that I can remember was the sound of the chains when they took her away. Life is better now, a lot better. And like I tell people, man, every day above ground for me is a good day, especially when you have walked in your own grave. Thank you for listening to my story. I'm always grateful for the opportunity to speak to people who may or may not know my story. Understand that life goes on, whether you're a man or a woman and you're going through difficulties in your marriage, there's ways of doing the right thing if you have to separate it. My situation was the extreme, but God willing, you do the right thing.